All right. Well, happy ragweed season.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Right.
Who's ready for Thanksgiving?
Oh, I am so ready. It's so close. I'm so excited. Like, our tree is filling up majorly.
Yay.
We just counted. I'm like, we have like 50 more leaves to shove on that thing. That'll be exciting. So I had to print out more things and cut out more leaves last night.
I know. I'm like, I need to do an update on my bushy tree now.
Oh yeah, you do. Send an update. All right. So as Thanksgiving's coming, one of the favorite things about Thanksgiving is all the yummy food. I think it's the start of yummy food.
And then it's like, I know I've been eating healthy, but I just want to eat all the yummy food.
Right? Thanksgiving was Halloween was rough for me. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, candy.
I ate some candy. I definitely am addicted to sugar. Anyway, so as we're talking about Thanksgiving and all the yummy food, and I'm like, what am I gonna eat at Thanksgiving? I can't go through this again. I don't want to feel crappy again. So.
Okay, so it's healthy eating for Thanksgiving, dessert style.
Right, we're so excited that we pulled in some of the desserts that we've already been making, or that we want to make, or just how to give us a sugar-free, gluten-free, it's even paleo and keto-friendly. It's that dessert that, unless you can't have dairy, sorry.
Well, and my recipe I found for mine is actually has an option for dairy-free too.
Ooh.
So I was very impressed. So.
Nice.
I know.
Well, that's exciting. So, let's do some clean eating Thanksgiving dessert.
And really, the goal today was to feel like it's Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So we're just gonna show off 2 desserts that we've made and tell you all the yummy things about them and eat them because we want to eat them. I'm so sorry.
Right, this is our breakfast. And you guys apparently like to watch us eat and try new things. So Charlotte made one and I made one and I'm super excited. Okay, so we're gonna start with mine, and mine is a cranberry dessert. And for some reason I'm in a very cranberry mood. And maybe that's because I can't have cranberries because all cranberries have tons of sugar in them. I don't eat dried cranberries anymore and stuff like that.
I think that's one of the weirdest things is looking at all the looking at all the ingredients on the back and realizing how much sugar is in things and then going, I don't want to eat that.
Right.
And just putting it back and being like, oh, what do I eat then?
Right, this is going to give me a massive headache. I need to put that down and find something else that my body can digest and use better. All right, so this is a recipe that I found and did before, but I changed the ingredients before because cranberries is in October. That's weird. And it was for my husband's birthday and he's, I guess, not very much a cranberry person. So I used raspberry jam instead of making a homemade cranberry jam because you can't find cranberry jam or sauce with sugar-free. So I had to do some making from scratch. But cranberry jam from scratch is so easy. Throw in the bag of cranberries, squeeze an orange over it. You can zest the orange if you want. A 1/4 cup of the sweetener in it, and you just boil the snot out of it until all the cranberries start rupturing and it just thickens on its own. That's it. Took me 15 minutes to make this. If you are afraid to make jam, don't be afraid to make cranberry jam. It's actually the easiest jam I've ever made.
Well, and I, again, have done strawberry jam for years and years and years, and I was kind of frustrated making my jam this spring, summer when we weren't eating sugar, and I wanted some jam, and so I just looked up a really simple strawberry jam recipe. Same idea. So you just boil down your strawberries and add in your sweetener a little bit, just as much as you need for flavoring. Done. Boom. I was like, okay, I only made a little bit, but it definitely gave me an idea of what I'm going to do for myself in the future. So I was like, okay, jam. Don't be afraid of jam, people.
Nope,
we can do it.
It's so much easier than you think it is.
Yes.
All right, so this recipe is super, super easy because the bottom and the top are basically the exact same ingredients, which makes it amazing.
Yes, it looks so much more complicated than it is.
Right, and that's what makes it so great because when you do things, when everybody gets together, it's also about beautiful presentation. And I think that this one looks gorgeous and you can see the layers and things. So it's kind of like a shortbread cookie on the bottom, and then you have a cheesecake middle, and then the homemade cranberry jam, and then the shortbread topping goes on top also. You make it 2 different ways because there is one ingredient missing on the top than there is on the bottom. And then I put sliced almonds with it. The recipe calls for pecans, but I just didn't have pecans, and almonds works too. So that's a cranberry cheesecake crumble. is
Yummy.
what we're calling it. And I'm so excited to try it with these tart cranberries.
Right, good contrast of sweet and sour. Mmm.
Oh, I got goosebumps. That is so... Oh, there's so much orange in there too.
Yeah, it's so fresh.
I thought about adding orange flavor to the cheesecake so you could really get the orange cranberry, but I think I put just enough orange juice in that.
Yeah, I think it's good. It turned out really well. And I've had it with a strawberry jam before, really good too. But the tartness, like a good balance of the sweet and sour.
Even the store-bought sugar-free raspberry jam was still really sweet. I think I really do, like, this is why the recipe calls for the cranberry.
Right, to give a sharp contrast.
We're gonna totally eat this whole piece. But all of our children loved it, and we're like, sweet, sugar-free dessert that everybody loves. So I've made this. This is my third or fourth time making this dessert. First time with a homemade cranberry, and this is definitely how I make it again.
Right, so good. It's so nice to like feel like when you feed your family that they're not gonna be hopped up on sugar all night.
Right? That dessert doesn't keep them wired, and they're not gonna crash before bed. This is so bad.
It's not bad though. That's the best part. It's good for us.
Well, we're gonna eat a piece of that too, so that's what's bad. Is I'm gonna eat two
It's
pieces
just a
for
really
breakfast.
good breakfast, okay?
Right? Your good carbs, your dairy, your fruit, no sugar, totally a breakfast.
Exactly.
I would call this breakfast too. I just did. Alright, I'm happy. Are you happy?
So good.
I know, and no sugar.
I think the hardest part with once you start kind of like cheating on what you've been eating, when you know how to eat better for your body, is that you missed that yummy food, and so you're like, oh, but it was yummy, but it just makes you feel bad. So eating something like that, where it has that feeling of, oh, but it's so yummy, and it doesn't make you feel bad. So it's like, yes.
I'm not guilty eating.
No, it's guilt-free, people. Feels so good. It tastes so good. It's nice, hearty, filling. Like, it's a good substance. I love it.
Right.
Okay, so it's my turn.
I know. Tell us what you made.
I made a pumpkin pie.
Because you can't have Thanksgiving without pumpkin pie.
Yes, Thanksgiving and pumpkin pie.
And you can't have breakfast the next day after Thanksgiving without pumpkin pie.
You have to keep eating the pumpkin pie.
So good.
Now, there's plenty of yummy pumpkin pies out there, but if you're going for your gluten-free option and your sugar-free option, you're not gonna find it, okay? So, I looked up recipes, I found lots of different ones, and some I found for the pumpkin pie, it had like the crust and the filling, and even like these little like maple cookies that went with it. It's like a top decoration, which I didn't make. But I really liked the filling on that one. And then I found this other recipe that was just a gluten-free crust. And what I really liked about that one is it felt a lot like the normal crust I like to make. Now, it had a Crisco in it, so there's some oils that way. But it was butter, and then the Crisco, and then the gluten-free flour. And it told me which gluten-free flour to get, which was really fun. And so I already had it on hand. It was the Bob's Mill flour, and so it was the gluten-free flour. And then she had another suggestion, which also tastes really well. And so it was like you're cutting in the cold butter, you're putting in the cold water, you want to see those butter kind of like squishing out as you do it, so you see the layering, so it should be nice and flaky. And like that's what a crust is to me. And I love homemade delicious crust. So when I was looking at recipes, I was like, yes, those are the things I want in my crust. And so that was the crust I used. And I got that all prepped, and I baked it up for about 15 minutes. And got it kind of set, and then my daughter helped me mix up all the ingredients for the pumpkin pie part, and then we just filled the shell and cooked it. And now it was interesting, it said to cook it for about 55 to 60 minutes. I would say I cooked this pie closer to like an hour 20. Like, it definitely took extra time, and it was still just a little jiggly in the middle, like you want your pumpkin pie right before it's finished. And so I was like, okay, I think this looks right. And really, like, it looked like a pumpkin pie. The one ingredient I didn't find on the recipe that it suggested was allulose. I don't know the word.
I've never heard of that.
I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but they did say on the recipe you could use another sweetener. So it's a type of a sweetener. And so this particular sweetener, if you had used it, helps it stay really kind of caramely feeling, and so that's why pumpkin pie would work really well with that. The sweetener I used, I just have my monk fruit still, which awesome. I need more. Anyways, and so I just used my monk fruit, and I think when it was all finished, it was sitting on the counter cooling. I would say it kind of got this kind of white, I say film, like mist on it, kind of like if you had put a little bit of powdered sugar and it was setting into it. And I think it's just the sweetener, the way it was kind of settling. But this morning when I got it out of the fridge, it looked just like a pumpkin pie. I was like, okay, that wasn't weird at all. Like, I don't think it looks too weird. Everything smelled, and like all the little tiny sampling on the way tasted right. My kids were dying to eat the rest of my dough from the crust. I'm like, stop eating it. So everyone's really excited about this pumpkin pie in my house. Last night, are we eating this tonight? Everyone. They're like, what about that pumpkin pie? I'm like, hey, I'm doing a video on that pie. Back off. Right? So it'll come home today and they can have some.
Not all of it though, because we're eating some.
Yeah, we get to eat it first.
The rest of your kids, I want to see them fight over that pie.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So anyway, so pumpkin pie, and what I did say earlier that there was a dairy-free option, and so in the recipe, instead of using the whipping cream for your dairy, you can substitute a can of whole fat coconut milk. Oh. And so if you did that substitution, it would be dairy-free as well. And I was tempted to try it. I probably did have the coconut milk at home, but I love dairy. And speaking of loving dairy, what's pumpkin pie without whipped cream? So I already had some whipped cream that I whipped up. Now, if you've never made your homemade whipping cream, this is your chance to do it. You just buy the liquid whipping cream.
It's easier than jam.
So much easier. So you just buy the homemade whipping cream.
It's in the bottle.
And so it's liquid, it's like milk, okay? That's where you're gonna find it. And it's a heavy whipping cream is better because it'll whip up better. And so then you're gonna pour it in a mixer. If you have your mixer, that's even easier. If you don't, a hand mixer will work just fine. Even a whisk will just take a long time. The other thing for me to make it happen quicker is I keep my bowl cold.
Yep.
I'll even like put some like little cold packs around it just to help it whip really well.
Right, I put my bowl in the freezer. If I know I'm
Yes.
making it ahead of time, I just throw it in the freezer for a couple of hours, and with the blender, whip inside.
Yep.
Yep.
And so then you whip, and you just leave it on that setting, and you just watch it. And once it starts to kind of like get those peaks that are getting stiff, and then you add in your little bit of sweetener, whatever you want. You can do a powdered or a granule, whatever sugar sweetener. And then I just do a little bit of vanilla to taste, and boom, done. Like, it's so easy. I don't think you can mess it up. All right.
And even like my family, one time I didn't add the sweetener, I forgot, and they still loved it. And they were like, no, Mom, I think I even like this even better, or whatever.
Awesome.
Because you put it on things that are so sweet.
Yes. And
so balance
really,
it out.
I don't add a lot of sweetener because I don't need to. Okay, so get your piece of pie. Here's our yummy goodness. Seriously, where I was cutting into this to put our little pieces on the plate, and you could hear the crust like crunch just perfect. I was like, yes, I scored on the crust.
Look at that. I like did try to cut the crust.
It's thick, okay?
My pumpkin pie's happy to see you.
There we go.
So much pumpkin-y, cinnamony yumminess.
So good. And like it's just nice and creamy. That crust really turned out well.
I know.
I'm really impressed, people.
Oh my god, it's just pumpkin. I'm so happy. Cranberry and pumpkin. This is the best morning ever.
Oh, what a way to wake up.
Alright, I need your recipe. We'll post the recipes down below.
Yeah, check them out. And again, like, I'm going to have 2 recipes, so you're going to have to figure out what I did.
Good luck.
I think like when you are baking and learning over all the years, I think it's weird how I've gotten, old. And so I have all these years to look back and be like, what worked, what didn't work, what recipe do I like, what recipe do I not like, and other people's recipes that turned out well, and they're sharing things and giving me different insights. So stuff like the butter and the crust and having it cool and having it like spread out well and all those things, to find that in a nice gluten-free recipe like that was really good. And I'm really impressed with the flour. I would say.
Yep, I would never guess this is gluten-free. Never. And I know you use xanthan gum, so I wonder if that has something to do with it.
So the xanthan gum is in the pie. So that's one of the special ingredients that is expensive, that you have to hunt down. But it helps it really hold well together. And I would say this pumpkin pie it looks just like a pumpkin pie should. So I would say that it did the trick. It said, don't skip this ingredient.
Yep.
It's like,
and you don't use a lot of it.
It's like a quarter teaspoon. It's something barely. And so my daughter was helping me. I'm like, are you sure that's the measurement? She's like, yeah, that's what it says right here. I was like, don't mess that up. A little bit terrifying as she's helping me.
Right, and any recipe that I've read that has xanthan gum, it's always this very small amount that you use in it. So it is a very expensive thing, but if you're just using a half a teaspoon at a time, it's going to last you a long time. I do have to give my opinion on monk fruit because it's not my favorite sugar.
Okay, it's not my favorite either. I love that I can buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it at Costco, people. So awesome.
I know. I think right now the Swerve is my favorite because it tastes so much like sugar. Monk fruit leaves this weird cooling thing in my mouth. I made sugar cookies with monk fruit, and my kids are like, it's so weird how it makes my mouth cold. It's almost like a toothpaste or something. Like how you can breathe in after that. So it's almost like too sweet for me sometimes. So I haven't figured out, because they tell you if you use monk fruit or something like that, some of the recipes will tell you to use less because of how sweet it is.
Right.
But I don't know how much less is less.
Right. Especially when you're trying a new recipe like this, to be like, well, I don't want to skimp on the sugar portion.
Right. So I'm like, so how much do it? Because I wanted to use it for my jam, because it is so much cheaper than the Swerve. But I didn't want my jam to be overly sweet, so I didn't use it this time around. It's very easy to use too much of it, but I do like then I can just use a little bit of it, and it sweetens it up quickly. So when I make my homemade hot chocolate, just like 1/8 of a teaspoon in my dark chocolate mix, and it sweetens it up enough.
I would say that the one thing I don't like about Swerve is it's not sweet enough. It feels right like sugar, and it doesn't have any weird aftertaste things, but I feel like I have to like keep adding.
Right, and it's expensive.
Yes, and so for that, I'd rather go monk fruit and try and hold back a little.
True story.
And overuse my Swerve and be like, it's all gone already again.
True.
I would say sweeteners are something that we are still figuring out, and if you have one you love, and proportions even, if you're like, hey, if you use monk fruit, use this amount, or if you use Swerve, use this amount, or whatever, I can say that, so Splenda is really popular, and you can buy a lot of it for a pretty good price. I would say it has a weird kind of flavoring to it.
That definitely has an aftertaste.
Yeah, so it's okay.
That's what I started with.
We did. We started with it. It's fine, but it's been fun to find these other ones that feel or taste more like sugar and have less of the extra aftertaste, I guess.
I did find Swerve on Amazon.
Really?
For 48 ounces for $24, which makes it 50 cents an ounce.
Okay.
And what we pay for in the store is we pay 67 cents an ounce. So it is cheaper to just buy it. And, and with the baking season coming up, and like I want to make things for me, I don't know how nice it will be. So I'm like, I may just bite the bullet and spend the $24 and then hopefully not have to buy it for 6 months.
That would be nice to not have to keep buying it.
Yeah, so we'll see.
So anyways, there's lots of yummy things out there. We're looking forward to eating the yummy things and feeling great at the same time. Yay. So happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. It's almost here. We're so grateful for that. We are, going to share our love with you and hang out and see all the awesome things that are out there for us to learn and do together. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.